Okay, here we go, our V2 haircut. So to start off, I'll just comb the hair around, get a feel for how it naturally falls. I'll start off in the back, below the occipital bone to the nape. I'll comb the hair out and elevate slightly down, just for a little bit more graduation. And I'll go in and cut in my guideline. Now, as you work this technique through the nape, you may have to wiggle yourself or move the client's head around at times, just so you're able to get in there with your shears and cut a cleaner line. So sometimes you have to wiggle and jiggle. Just do what you have to do to get that clean shape in there. Okay, so for the nape area, I'm just cutting round graduation. As I pull the hair out and I cut the shape, I'm cutting in graduation, and I'm working slightly around the head, so I'm not cutting square, so I'm not building up corners in the shape. So I'm basically just working off the prior section and pulling the hair straight out, as opposed to cutting square graduation through the back, where I'll start to build up these two internal corners. This time, my shape is round. Okay, and make sure that your sections are clean enough and small enough where you can easily control them. One thing you have to keep in mind when you're working with super beyond super thick hair is that if you try and cheeky your way around the haircut and use gigantic sections, one, I think your scissors may explode in your hand, and two, you're never gonna get in there and nail that shape. So a lot of times with thicker hair, you just have to work with really clean, fine sections, just because there's more density, there's a lot more hair to deal with, so you can't really rush it. Just take your time and do it right. Okay, so for the left side, it's the exact same technique. Here I'm just combing, again, I'm combing the hair straight out, I'm cutting in a graduated shape, and I'm working around the head. I'm not building up those corners. Okay, so once you have the two sides done below the nape, now we'll work the next area, which is from the occipital bone to the crown. Now here I'm just combing the hair straight out. I'm working off the guideline from the occipital bone below, and here I'm just cutting in my layered shape. So I'm pulling the hair straight out and I'm cutting in round layers. So just make sure everything connects, and just be careful around that crown area. If you find anything you feel it's a bit jumpy, like just a vicious cowlick or something, loosen off on the tension a bit, or just flip to a 107 and use a wider teeth for that area that's a little bit more dangerous. And if anything, always go longer than shorter. Okay, so again, through the top, from the occipital bone to the crown area, we're cutting round layers. Now the easy way to just make sure your shape is round, ensure that with every section you're connecting the lower portion, and you'll be fine. Because again, that lower portion, that graduation, was also cut round. Okay, and the best way to control the shape is, again, stand in front of what you're cutting. Make sure your fingers, elbows, cone, section, they're all parallel. And since we're cutting round, if you're actually standing in front of what you're cutting, and with each section, like for the left portion, with each section you take a tiny baby step towards your left, you'll organically start to cut round. So you don't have to, so long as your body's in the right position, it'll allow you to cut your round layers to that top area a lot more efficient. Okay, so now we'll start to work in the sides. I'll start off on the left side. I separate the left side from the top at the parietal ridge. And here I'm combing out a vertical section. I'll comb the hair super clean from roots to ends. Then I'll catch the hair in my fingers and I'll line up my comb. I'll have my comb actually mimic the shape that I intend to cut. And then from here I'll just go in and I'm cutting square layers. So as I comb the hair, I make sure my comb is 90 degrees, my fingers are 90 degrees, my elbows high, fingers low. So that with that body position, it'll encourage me to cut these square layers to the sides a lot stronger. Okay, and then remember to stand in front of what you're cutting. So as you're cutting square through the sides, I'll take like a baby step towards the ear with each progressive section. And also try to do your very best not to comb each section too many times, it'll increase your margin for error, and it's a big waste of time. So long as you have that intention, okay, through the sides, I'm cutting in square layers, you already determined your length, and just, again, run it through in your brain prior to cutting that section, and everything falls into place a lot more comfortably, smoothly, and more effective. Okay, so now on the opposite side, on the right side, I'm doing the exact same technique. So we're still cutting square layers. When you cut in this new guideline, make sure you go back and check for symmetry and balance. We have to cut evenly, right? This is a symmetrical haircut. And if anything, when you're cutting in this new guideline, when in doubt, go longer than shorter. Because we can always take long hair shorter. We just can't take short hair longer. Okay, so next section, I'm cutting square. I comb this hair straight out. Fingers, elbows, scissors to all that 90-degree angle. Stand in front of what you're cutting for the maximum amount of control. And then there's a good habit, say like cut a vertical section right after, and you can jump in and cross check it just to make sure that you're cutting square. And that additional cross check is just a matter of, you're just adding like 2 seconds onto your technique per section, just to guarantee that you actually are cutting square. Okay, so now our square layers start to like fuse with the back. This is fine. We just want to like comb the hair out. Okay, and notice to like blend these two shapes, my over direction, I'm still cutting square. And this will allow me to connect the shape through the back and the sides with that over direction. So I'm building up a tiny slight corner, which is fine because it also allows my entire haircut to connect. But still, this corners, it exists, but it's not super intense. And then again, once we're dry, we can go back and like tame it down, or we can knock all that corner down. I'd rather have an open plan as opposed to like cutting off too much, and then you're just tied down to that mindset. So through the top area, I'm working with vertical sections. I'm combing the hair straight out, and I'm working from the guideline from the back. Then I also make sure that every single section, the tip of my fingers has a portion of the side's guideline. So again, this entire haircut, everything will connect. And I'd rather work with 2 guidelines opposed to 1 guideline, because the more guidelines I have as I'm cutting, it's more technical support to perform a stronger haircut. So still working small sections, combing the hair straight up, working off my guidelines. Okay, and I'm cutting the left side in the exact same manner. Again, just combing the hair up, connecting my guides, working with slightly diagonal sections and working from the rear forward. Just make sure that you're combing the hair super clean from roots to the ends. If your stroke is off, if you're combing the hair a bit messy and those strands aren't super parallel and clean, you're cutting unevenly because you haven't combed the hair properly. To me, I think combing the hair is harder than cutting the hair. The actual control comes from your body position, finger position, and the way you comb the hair and where you comb the hair to. So a lot of it, try and put a little bit more emphasis on like your stroke technique, and you'll just blow up. You'll improve dramatically. For the blow dry, just going with a paddle brush, I'm just flat wrapping and pushing the hair in tons and tons of different directions, and I'm just getting like a nice organic finish. Okay, so now that the hair is dry, I'm just going back and I'll refine my shape. And when I go back and refine my shape, I like to use the sections that I cut the hair with technically. So that, because that's where my shape actually exists, then I can visually like look at points where if the hair looks a bit heavy and just refine the hair more. So I'm just going to the outline and I'm getting like around the ears, the nape. The nape, I want to extend her neck. So I'm cutting in quite steep graduation. And then just right there to the nape area, I'm cutting in like a cup shape. Curved cup shape looks quite awesome from the back, right? And I don't want to go in there and cut like a V shape. That's too easy. That's what everyone does. When you work in these curved shapes, it's a lot more challenging, but again, details always show. And just for the fringe area, I'm just going in and working off what's pre-existing, just cleaning up that line and cutting a little bit of V shape through the front, so it fits the opposite of the back. Okay, well there you have it, our V2 cut. Enjoy.